Hello everyone and welcome back to the Gcor show. It's been a while, but obviously this week is the week of the Gcor Gen.3 Season 5 pre-season test. And I thought it'd be appropriate for us to get to some season predictions. Some of these predictions are going to have an asterisk, such as Alpine, who at the time of recording still have no drivers, which is weird from Midget Matt. Usually he's the first one. I'm sure he's got something in his sleeve. Midget Matt's a smart guy, so he'll probably get a couple drivers. But little spoiler: Alpine, they're going to be last in the predictions. Obviously, I don't know who their drivers are, and the last spots are to be decided in the drivers' standings from our predictions. And just remember, it's just a prediction. Hopefully, if the drivers see this, or when the drivers see this, they don't take it to heart, because it's just predictions. Hopefully, they can show me wrong, prove me wrong. But I thought now would be an appropriate time for us to get some predictions. But without further ado, let's get into it. I'll start off with the Drivers' Championship. I actually think we're gonna get probably more than 20 drivers racing this season, with reserves stepping in. So I think position 21, 20 and 19, because also I think it's Alfa Romeo, they still don't have a driver as well, so there are 3 spots left on the grid. But in P18 I've gone with J-Boy, the Ferrari driver, Skip Rastine. I've gone for him just because I've never seen him race, and there's been no hype around his name, so I thought it'd be fine to put him P18. And also, another question is, will he even turn up? I think there has been rumours around his name getting into Gcor in previous seasons, but now he's in it, will he actually turn up? That's another question. P16, I've gone with Clone. A driver who used to actually race in Gcor back in the Gcor Gen.2 days, back in the GT cars. He's actually a sprint race winner. He's scored a few podiums. I think he's on like 2 or 3 podiums, so he does have a little bit of experience within Gcor. However, that was like literally 2 years ago. I think five or 6 seasons have gone past since Clone Westbrook was last in the car. So definitely, I think it's gonna be almost like he's pretty much a rookie. I mean, it won't be applicable for Rookie of the Season, but he pretty much is a rookie. So we'll see what he can do. Hopefully, for his sake, I've known Clone Westbrook for a while. I've raced with him before. He's a good race driver, and back when he was team owner of Clone Corp Racing Chevrolet back in the Gen 2 era, he did a decent job as well. So hopefully he can do something good. P15, I've actually gone with Surf Absolot. This was a tough one because Surf Absolot, I actually think he's got pace. He's got decent pace for at least the midfield, but it's just finishing races. Can he cross the finish line so many times in the points for those points to add up? I've seen many clips of him racing in other leagues, and even when he was in Gcor last season before he got that season ban, he showed decent pace. I mean, back in Australia, obviously that was the reason I DNF'd, right? But it's all good. No hard feelings. And Surf Absolot, hopefully, he's a funny guy. He's a good person, and hopefully he can do well. And but at the moment, at the current time of recording, is Alfa Romeo's only driver, so hopefully get them a few points for the constructors. P14, I've gone with a reserve driver actually in Juice Lilman. Recently he was actually sacked from Williams, with Ollie Freeman replacing him, and that's because of Juice Lilman being AFK. Once again, not turning up to races, not really being the responsible team owner. However, I do think he'll compete in a couple races this season, and Juice Lilman, I've always rated him quite highly. I think he's one of the best midfield drivers, and if he turns up every weekend, honestly, I think he's he could be a Hurricane 2.0, a driver who's, had a rocky start, a little bit of a rocky start to their career. But as the races go on, as the seasons go on, improve so much that he's in a title fight. We'll get to Hurricane a bit later. But yeah, that's where I see Juice Lillman. I mean, I've had many great battles with Juice Lillman. Austria, Gen.3, Season 3. That was a very good battle with him. He just beat me to P3. But yeah, Juice Lillman, I think he's got a lot of potential. But we forget, though, he's actually going into his 5th season in Gcor. He's not been consistent in any of the previous 4, which is a shame for a driver of his talent. P13, we have a returning Peter Plays. It's been a while, it's been a couple seasons. Peter Plays was actually racing in another league with BBRL, where he won the championship without actually winning a single race in season. So yeah, definitely congratulations to him. So it's going to be interesting to see how much he's improved. Before, Peter Plays was like a lower midfield driver who, just tried staying out of trouble, scoring, maybe odd P8, P9 here and there. But, by the sounds of things, I think he's improved quite a bit. I think he'll be tight in that midfield. But yeah, I do think Peter Plays P13. I think he's going to enter the season with a little bit of confidence. But this isn't BBRL, this is Gcor, a much faster, more competitive league with all respects to BBRL. So, we'll see how Peter Plays can get on, and hopefully he'll be successful, score some points, and who knows, maybe even a podium here and there. P12, I've gone with Skin Dog. I think this season is a big season for Skin Dog. Obviously he got dropped by Peter Plays from Alfa Romeo, so he'll be definitely wanting to, prove a point. He's gone back to the team he started with, which was Williams, the team which actually released him back when he was in Alpine's academy. But yeah, I think Skin Dog, this could actually be his breakout season. Who knows? He's been in the simulator a lot. He's always going back to the factory, learning more about the car, learning more about the tracks. So honestly, I do hope the best for Skin Dog. He's a great person, and hopefully he can develop to be an even better driver. We've seen some flashes of greatness. A good example was back in Monza last season in the sprint race, when he was actually leading for a couple laps, but then made a mistake at Ascari, and it all went downhill from there. But yeah, showed decent pace there, and yeah, I think it's just about being consistent, staying out of trouble, and showing everyone, what he's capable of. So, Skin Dog P12 with Skip Rat P11. I think, as I said, it's going to be close between Peter, Skin Dog, Skip Rat, and 2 of the other drivers who are coming next. I think it's going to be very close. It could go any way. But I put Skip Rat here. I think last season Skip Rat had a very good season. He just missed out on not getting that Mercedes seat. But last season was a really good season for Skip Rat. He managed to score his first podium back in Singapore. His first podium in, I think it was like a year or something. His first podium for 4 seasons, I think. 4 or 5 seasons. 4 seasons, yeah. With his last podium coming at Blue Moon Bay, I think. Back in Gen.3 Season 2. Back in the GT cars. So yeah, no, definitely. It's been a while since Skip Rat had been on the podium, but he showed, again, signs of promise. Yeah, he stayed out of trouble, which is good. I think Skip Rat only managed to get 2 penalty points throughout the entire season. I actually had more penalty points, I think. So yeah, that was definitely very good. And him at Ferrari, he's so happy there at Ferrari with Dino Bambino being his team principal. I think Dino is definitely teaching Skip Rat a lot of tricks and helping him to develop. And I think mentally Skip Rat is in a much better state than he has been in previous seasons. Skip Rat's much happier. Ferrari's it's pretty much his home now, even though he's still part of the Mercedes driver program, the GN7 Mercedes driver program. But yeah, Skip Rat's done a brilliant job last season. Hopefully he can continue on that upwards trajectory into this season, and who knows, maybe another podium for Skip Rat, definitely some more points, and hopefully he can get Ferrari up in the Constructors' Championship. Now we get into the top 10. Now in P10, I've got Charlie Doyle. Charlie Doyle, I think last season, this season actually went, under the radar. I think last season Charlie Doyle actually struggled a little bit, compared to his previous season where he was third for most of the championship, ended up finishing P5, but he was actually third behind Hurricane and Chicona for quite a while in that season. And even, in like the first 5 races, he was within a win of leading the championship. So yeah, definitely the season before in Gen.3 season 3, Charlie Doyle was he was up there. I was thinking this guy maybe in the season after, who knows, he could put on a title fight, but it just wasn't meant to be. I think he did struggle a little bit last season. Obviously, he was unfortunate with DNFs, some of which weren't his fault, and also I don't want to blame the stewards, but if you're a Charlie Doyle fan, or I wouldn't even say Charlie Doyle fan, but I think a couple decisions went against him. I'll be honest, to be frank. But this season, I think it's a big season for Charlie Doyle. He's going back to McLaren. Obviously, that's the team which first signed him back in Gen.3 season 2, when Tyler actually took the gamble with him. So he's back at the team in Woking, and I think it's going to be interesting. Him and Hurricane. Last season at Haas, him and Hurricane, they had a good team dynamic, but just missed out on finishing second, I think, in the constructors. But yeah, I think this season Charlie Doyle, it's a new season, fresh start. If he can get underway well, because his qualifying was really good actually. I'd actually say he's, I'm gonna say it, I think he's top 5 best qualifiers on the grid. Well, at least last season he was. He showed really good pace in qualifying, and even in the sprint race, he showed decent pace. I think he got a couple podiums in a couple sprint races this season. One being in Brazil, the other being in, I think, his Monza. So yeah, Charlie's got potential. He just needs to stay out of trouble, and let his driving do the talking. Because I know he's got a lot of potential, and maybe this season's going to be his breakout season. Maybe it won't, but yeah, hopefully he can fulfill that potential sooner rather than later. P9, this is where it gets tough now. P9, I've gone with Gibbo, the new GN7 Mercedes man. The man who's replacing me. I mean, Gibbo, this season, I don't know, it's really hard to judge. As I said, it's really close between the group of, from P9 to, P9, P10, and I think, honestly, Gibbo could surprise us. He could finish higher. I mean, I look at that, I'm like, P9, that is quite low. But the drivers ahead of him are just, they're class. I think last season, Gibbo had a very good debut season. Getting 2 podiums, obviously, one of his podiums actually coming in his debut race. So, I think he's one of, six or 7 Gcor drivers in the history of the sport to have scored a podium in their debut race. So that's definitely a very good record to have, statistic to have. And then, his season kind of tailed off. He kind of fell off a little bit. He couldn't find any luck. He was DNFs 3 races in a row, which was terribly unfortunate. None of which were actually his fault as well. There were rumours circulating around the paddock that he was actually going to call it a day. That he was going to sign it, bring in his resignation, and just leave Gcor as a whole. Thank God he decided not to. He decided to hang in there, go through the tough time of form, and yeah, he managed to come out on the better side, scoring a podium in Brazil in the final race of the season. And beating Skip Rat to the GN7 Mercedes seat. I think this season he'll learn a lot. He'll definitely develop alongside Midget Matt. And that GN7 Mercedes environment, obviously I've been there for so many seasons. I think it was 4 seasons. Sorry, no, I was there longer than that. 5 seasons. I was there for 5 seasons, and the atmosphere is in the GN7 team is, I think it's the best on the grid. I mean, everyone's so positive within the factory. It's so harmonic, and I think the relationship between both drivers has always, been really good. So I think Gcor definitely developed. How much he can develop, I guess we'll see. I hope. Me being a little bit biased towards GN7 Mercedes, my old team, I do hope Gcor can finish higher than 9th, and I think he can. But whether you think he'll be beating guys, the likes of Fuse Coolboy, Cyrax, Atomics, Tristan, it's up to you. It's up to you to decide, and there's only one way to find out, really. P8, we've got Atomics, I've put him one spot ahead of his team principal. And Atomics last season showed, very good signs. I think Atomics can definitely develop to become a title candidate. Last season, obviously, it was his incident with Hurricane, which actually won Hurricane the championship. So yeah, obviously there's a little bit of controversy there. But Atomics, he showed very good pace. In his first couple of races, he did, it took some time for him to warm up. But once he was there, as we saw back in Brazil, he's, not only is he quick, but I think his racecraft is very good. I had a very good battle with him in Brazil, back and forth. Okay, there was a little bit of a tie-off there, but definitely it was a very good battle, and I do think Atomics can, as long as he continues working on himself, I think he can become, one day, in the very near future, championship challenger. P7. This was a tough one. Tough one. I've gone with Cyrax, my good mate Cyrax. It's really close, honestly. He could be higher. He could be higher. He deserves to be higher, I think. But I've gone Cyrax P7. I hope he proves me wrong. But my motives behind Cyrax P7 is that, let's start with the positives first. Cyrax is very consistent. He doesn't DNF very often. And I think his qualifying pace, especially towards the end of the season, improved a lot, to the point where he managed to get his maiden pole position back in Brazil. So definitely Cyrax is still on upward trajectory. He's a very clean driver. Obviously me and him, we had that little bit of contact back in Brazil, but in all honesty, I think that was a racing incident. What was the steward's verdict? I think it was a 3-place grid penalty, something like that. Yeah, it is what it is. No hard feelings there. But yeah, now Cyrax he's incredibly fast as well. I do admire how he uses no assists as well. So definitely, I think as long as he continues working on himself, working on improving the car, working on improving, getting more experience, I think definitely soon, just like Hurricane has the last couple of years, I think Cyrax soon will definitely be fighting for the championship. Who knows, he might be fighting for the championship this season. He managed to win his first Constructors' Championship with Luigi. That was brilliant. He deserved that, he worked hard. And I think next season is I wouldn't say it's a vital season, but obviously there have been some rumours, circulating around the paddock that Cyrax could be on his way to GN7 Mercedes. Obviously it's just rumours. Gcor he's not even done a lap in the GN7 Mercedes car, I don't think. So the rumour mill will always be there, but yeah, definitely I think we'll see how that little story transpires throughout the season. In P6, I've gone with Fuse Coolboy. I think Fuse has the potential to become world champion. Honestly speaking, I think the races that he's done, he had this joint third most podiums last season, along with myself, only with Luigi and Hurricane. The two drivers who go toe-to-toe in the championship. Those two drivers only have more than Fuse Coolboy and myself. So honestly, I do think he's good enough for the title. But there's one big thing stopping him from challenging for the title, and that's how often he turns up. He's not one of the drivers that turns up rarely. He's not one of those ones. But I think Fuse, if he wants to challenge for a title, put up a sustained championship fight, he's gonna have to do two things. First thing, start the season off strong. Last season he started the season off with 2 DNS, I think, in the first 2 races. He definitely struggled. But when he was there, he started winning races. I think, how many races did he win? I think he won 1 or 2 races last season. Along with a couple sprints as well. So definitely he's got that pace, he's got that potential. He can go toe-to-toe with the best. He's gone toe-to-toe with mean races. He's gone toe-to-toe with Luigi, Hurricane, even Midget Matt when he was leading some races last season. So Fuse Callboy, definitely. But if you're going to fight for the championship, you can't be missing 3 races. 2-3 races. Can't be doing that. As Luigi saw this season. And honestly, I think Fuse Callboy has the potential to challenge for the championship. I don't have the faith that he's going to turn up to every single race. Obviously it's tough turning up to every single race. Don't get me wrong. Even I have not turned up to every single race. But honestly, I do believe with his pace, with his raw pace and his natural talent, he's definitely got the potential to be something special. And lead that Williams team. Because now he has signed for Williams along with Skin Dog. Lead that Williams team to something great. Now we get into the top 5. Top 5. In 5th place, I've gone with Midget Matt. Going off the end of last season, Midget Matt's form was crazy. He could have won 3 of the last 4 races, which is kind of mad. Especially when you look at that GN7 team, or where it was at the start of the season. That GN7 car was a dog. It was so tough to drive. It was fighting against myself and Matt, and we just couldn't extract any pace out of it. But Matt ended up actually getting more race wins than me with his 2 race wins. And it wasn't like they were jammy race wins. They were on merit. They were on pure pace. So definitely, I think if he can start the season off strong with a couple podiums, I think that'll be definitely a very good foundation for another strong season. And who knows, maybe potentially a title charge. Nobody's saying no to Matt having a title charge. At the start of the season, everyone starts on 0 points, And if Matt can continue that momentum and that form from the end of last season, honestly, I do think he can challenge for the top boys, in terms of the title. He managed to go toe-to-toe with Luigi, who, was, going from the award ceremony, he was the best driver of last season. Managed to go toe-to-toe with him at Silverstone and beat him, So I think it's just really having a good start of the season, reliability as well. That GN7 Mercedes car, my old team, I love them so much, but reliability is definitely against us. There's some tracks last season where internet would mess us up, a bit of lag, or some other issue. So definitely, hopefully, fingers crossed, the car can be reliable, car can be comfortable, and we can see Midget Matt actually go toe to toe in the championship fight. In P4, I've gone with Tristan. I've gone with the other Red Bull driver. And Tristan, again, is another driver who's showing brilliant potential. I think his move to Red Bull was quite big, actually, leaving Ferrari, going to Red Bull. I think Red Bull have got themselves a gem. I think Tristan this season is going to be up there, in terms of race wins. I think in terms of fighting for the lead and potentially even the championship, I think he's going to be up there. But again, people underestimate how important the start of the season is. If you start the season off slowly, poorly, and you're playing catch up, as GN7 and myself saw at the end of last season, it's going to be too late. We lost the Constructors' Championship last season because for the first 8 races, I think we were something like 100 plus points behind AlphaTauri. So obviously he's got to start the season strong. Ideally with podiums and race wins, but first of all, it's finishing the races, finishing the races and coming out of them unscathed. So if Tristan can do that, definitely I think his pace, because we saw at Brazil, in that sprint race, I think he managed to win the sprint race by 9 seconds or something. It was a dominant performance in the sprint race. In the actual race, it was I had a very good battle with Tristan, especially in the early stages. Nearly had a little disaster with him going down into turn 1 where our wheels kind of locked. But we came out of that unscathed, and I think Tristan is going to lead that Red Bull team back to where it belongs, back to where Dino Bambino had it for years, back to even when Beast Mode was driving, back when he was in his BMW days. He's going to lead it back to greatness, I think. P3. Now we're getting to the top 3. Let me have a sip of my drink. Man, orange juice never fails. Actually, now that's pineapple juice. Pineapple juice never fails. But Luigi P3. That's what I've said. I've gone bold. The reason I say Luigi P3, he was best driver last season. As we saw in the awards. He had a brilliant battle with Hurricane in terms of the championship. But we all know, if he just turned up to even one more race, I think, as long as he would have finished that race, I think he would have become world championship. I'm not disrespecting Hurricane in any form. I'll get onto him in a minute. There's a reason why I haven't said Hurricane yet. But Luigi P3, I think. I don't know. I don't see him again. It's all about turning up to races. I think now in this current era of Gcor, turning up is so important, because if you don't turn up to a race, your nearest title competitor will go and win that race, that same race that you've not turned up to. You've lost 25 points, then they've gained 25 points. So I think turning up is everything these days. And I mean, in terms of raw pace, going off last season, Luigi is the fastest on the grid. But I think other factors out of his control are going to make him finish third. And those factors are going to be the next two drivers. But the driver who I said in second place, I'll go with Hurricane. The reigning Gcor World Drivers Champion, Hurricane. The first American Gcor champion, actually, which is kind of crazy to think. We've only had our first American champion now, but Hurricane in P2. And the reason I've said this, I think Hurricane winning that championship is going to do one of two things to him. The first thing, I'm going to start with the negative one first. The first thing it could do to him is he's won his championship. He's done everything he's wanted in his career, and now he can dilly dally. He doesn't have to try as hard. He doesn't have to go to the factory as much. He doesn't have to put as much work in, because he's already world champion. That complacency sometimes can kick in. I remember after I won my third championship in Gen.2 season 2, Gen.3 season 1 was a very, very poor season for me. Because I was so complacent, I was just, the first few races didn't go to plan. I finished second, fourth, and won, but it didn't go to plan in terms of actual race pace. So that was definitely a wake-up call, But on the other hand, I do feel like becoming world champion could change you, in the sense that now that you can do it, and now that you kind of, you have the world championship trophy right in front of you. You're the best driver in the world. It can act like a confidence booster. It was like after I won my fourth championship in Gen.3 season 2. After beating Dino, I had that massive confidence boost into the season after. I didn't even have to complete all the races to become world champion the next season. So, in Hurricane's situation, I think it's going to be harder with Luigi, Milan, Tristan, Atomics, Midget Matt, Cyrax, Fuse, etc., etc. I could go on, but definitely I think he should try and use this as a confidence booster. He can do it now. He's literally reigning world champion. If he wanted to, he'd have the #1 car. But yeah, I guess we'll see already. We'll see what approach he takes going to New Zealand and whether he can beat my world champion for the Gcor Gen.3 Season 5 World Championship, which is going to be Milan. Can he beat Milan? Milan's a rookie, so I've gone bold. I've gone aggressive, but his CV speaks for itself. He's fighting in the FSC Championship, one of the hardest championships out there, and he's come to Gcor with a point to prove. I've spoken to him a few times in the paddock, just walking around. Sounds like he knows his Formula 1. He knows his racing. But and also there has been rumours that he could whitewash up on the Gcor. I don't think that happened. I think drivers like Hurricane, Luigi, as I said, all of the drivers who I've mentioned previously, they won't let that happen. But I think definitely don't be surprised if we do see a Davidson winning in their first season for the third time in Gcor history. Could have happened last season, to be fair. But yeah, that's my drivers' standings, and quick rundown of the constructors. Got Alpine in 10th, obviously they've got no drivers as we speak. Alfa Romeo 9th. They've only got one driver in Surf Absolute. In 8th, I've gone with Aston Martin. They've gone with Peter Blaze and Clone Westbrook. Two drivers who have raced in Gcor and who did decent jobs, but obviously coming back, the Gcor of old compared to Gcor now has changed quite a lot, even in the Gen.3 era. In P7, gone for Ferrari with Skip Rat and J-Boy. I think Skip Rat will lead that team. If Ferrari really want to challenge for a title, maybe Dyno should keep Skip Rat. Obviously, we don't know. Maybe J-Boy is going to fight for the championship. But if J-Boy, performs as predicted, maybe Dyno needs to find that world champion who can elevate that Ferrari team along with Skip Rat. P6, I've gone with Williams with Skin Dog and Fuse Coolboy. P5, I've gone with McLaren actually, with Hurricane and Charlie. The same team which finished third last year, just a Haas. And that's because I think Haas will be third. I know Haas, they have a rookie and Rocky, who I don't remember if I spoke about him actually. Well, I think he's going to finish 17th. I think I missed Rocky out. But yeah, Rocky 17th, I think. If I did miss him out, rookie, I'm not expecting too much from him. And he's going to be partnering up with Milan at Haas. So yeah, I think they're going to be third just because Milan's going to score so many points. I've jumped on the Milan hype train and I'm not looking back. In second, I think it'll be GN7 Mercedes once again. I think Gcor and Midget Matt. At the end of the day, teamwork is what makes the dream work, and it's what makes GN7 as well. Last season we saw that. The season before, literally every season, GN7 have never had a driver who's individually got that team to where it was, And I think next season will be the same. I think both drivers will contribute a lot of points, and I think they'll contribute enough to finish second. But I think the world champions, back to back, once again will be AlphaTauri. I think, okay, Luigi, I actually think he's going to finish third instead of second, and I think Cyrax is going to finish seventh instead of, I think he finished sixth last season. I can't remember. So yeah, it does look like it's lower, but I think points difference, points offset, and all that. I think AlphaTauri will win the constructor standings. But yeah, this was my prediction. Remember, don't jump on me, please. because it is just a prediction. But yeah, I want to see what you guys think. Your thoughts. Am I wrong? Am I right? I guess there's only one way to find out, really. But yeah, preseason this week. It will either be on the Gcor official channel or it will be on my private channel. Either way, it's going to be getting streamed and recorded. So hopefully you guys can join, and yeah, see you in Bahrain preseason.